Well, hello, my friends. Welcome aboard. Sunday. It's been drizzling. I don't really want to go out in the woods very far. I brought my umbrella. But I was shooting here about 2 weeks ago. I think I was doing a movie, No Pre-Aim, I think it was, where we were just closing our eyes or coming back and relaxing our fingers and lining up. Anyhow, um, I found at that time, especially the first group, I shot to the right. I remember saying, nice group, Gare, but it's on the right. Anyhow, I want to draw your attention again to indirect aiming. Now, once again, this is the idea. I've got my bow. I hold it at 45 degrees. My arrow is pointing off to the left. That's because I shoot to the right. If I lined up the arrow, I would shoot over here. So I'm aiming over here, and this is the side of the bow, and that's the arrow. It's like a little V where it sits on this particular bow. Other bows won't be like that. But anyhow, I want you to realize that that's what I'm doing, and we're going to see if I stop shooting right. That's what this is all about. Can I keep it on the line now instead of shooting right, which I was doing when I was aiming the arrow? But anyhow, just so you can see, the target is right in that little V on this bow, and the arrow is pointing over that way. Anyhow, that's what we're doing. Now, let's go and do some shots. Okay. Okay, guys, let's take a couple shots. Okay, you know, 2 weeks ago I did this movie about no pre-aim, and my first shots was a nice little group, but it was on the right. Now, in recent movies, I said that I was aiming my arrow because I had this shelf, and I thought that I might be able to do it. And I realized that I couldn't, that I had to go back to indirect aiming. So today, I'm just putting the target in the window, right in that little V. The arrow points over that way. And when I do that, you can see that the little group that we just did, let's check it out here. But you can see that the little group that we just did is all in the center, on the center line. It's not over there on the right. Okay? Indirect aiming. That's what we're checking out again today, boys. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. If I impart anything to you today, it's that I'm using a sight picture and putting the target in the sight picture. I am not aiming the side of the bow or the string or the arrow at the target. Okay, almost beautiful. Anyhow, you know, I'm not aiming the side of the bow or the side of the arrow or the arrow. That target is just framed there. I'm not really letting it float around, but it's framed in there. And, again, relax those fingers, hold it on, press forward. 45-degree cant really lines things up good. I'll get into the straight draw again. I think it's a very valuable draw. I know everybody's taught the rotational draw, but, they're very similar. Look, you hold it up like this and your arm goes like that. That's a rotational draw. You hold it down like that and your arm goes like this. That's a straight draw. But if you tilt, you'll see it's actually a rotational, only it's drawn up from under. It's all in the technique, boys. Anyhow, there's a couple of hits there. Yeah, those were sweet. And of course, there. But you'll notice that I'm on the line, no longer shooting to the right. Okay, that's what this is all about today. Back in a minute. Now that I found the window, I think over the next couple of weeks I should get pretty good with this bow. So what I'm finding is that I'm more on the line. That's basically it. I'm aiming off to the side. The target's in the middle here, and just pressing forward. Indirect aiming. But it will work on any bow. Any bow and arrow. Basically, you aim directly, with whatever bow and arrow you have, you aim directly at the target. And if you have a good form, you will always hit to the right. Or maybe you will always hit to the left. If you hit to the right, you aim to the left. Simple. If you hit to the left, you aim to the right. And how you can find it is just by putting the arrow up, and you know that you're off, let's say, 1 foot. Go over about a foot. Go 8 inches, go 10 inches, go a foot, go 14 inches, whatever it takes, you will find a spot that will shoot straight for you. Okay? Indirect aiming. And, here's a couple of shots. So I'll get used to this particular hole, but, we're in the center. That's the point today. I'll get used to it, but we're not off on the right. That's what we're doing. Back in a minute, boys. Okay, my friends, let's take a couple shots on this angle. I think I'll have to have that tree moved. Little step back. Okay. Well, guys, some of the simple things that I do is when I put the arrow on, I take a little step forward, and that will anchor your tip. Then, and I've got her at 45, so that will anchor my tip. Now I take a little step back, and that will keep that arrow right in that spot. I can do a straight draw lined up all the way. I don't have to do that kind of thing. That's rotational, right? It works. But, wango tango, I like that. So, that's what I'm saying. I like the straight draw. Okay, anyhow, enough of that. Let's take a peek at these and then we'll do something else. Anyhow, there's 3 hits. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. A couple more shots. And a little more talk. Take the time to aim. You know, I was telling you how I started to use this bow and I found that it was shooting to the right a little bit. So of course people started giving me some advice on that. One fellow was telling me that I should use a stiffer arrow. Well, you know, you can use that. But I found that just using a stiffer arrow, it still needs a point, still needs feathers, it still needs to be cut down to whatever it needs to be cut down. So that was one thing. Then there was raising the knock up, you know, that will tend to make your bow shoot to the left. You can also lower your brace height. The lower the brace height, the farther off it will push the arrow. So there's these kinds of things. Anyhow, what I found was all these things are mechanical ways of trying to adjust things, you know, moving your pad out, all these things. But what I really found was as soon as I started to just let the bow shoot, and because it wanted to shoot to the right, I simply checked out moving my arrow slightly to the left until I found a spot. And as soon as I did that, I was right on. Okay, so that's what Howard Hill was actually doing also, you know. Yeah, you can get stiffer arrows and you can do this and you can do that, but basically, if you use indirect aiming, you'll start to hit the target. And, you know, those shots are pretty straight. They're not off on the right side. You know, that's what we're after today. See if we can do this. And obviously we can. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. Now I've got some 500 spined arrows, heavier spined, because I was told that this would work better. So we're just going to aim these, but we're going to not use indirect aiming. We're going to use direct aiming with this, straight at the target. Okay, I'll just leave that like that because that tells you everything right there. So anyhow, I'm using the 500 spined arrow. I'm aiming right at the target, and sure enough, it's shooting to the right also, just like the other arrows. This bow will shoot to the right. We can fool around with cutting them and paper tuning and doing this and doing that. This bow is going to shoot to the right. So aim to the left a little bit. I'll just show you what I'm talking about. But changing the points, raising the knock, raising the brace height, all those kinds of things. You can see that that group is more right. Okay? So changing the spine didn't help either. No? Point weight didn't help. Indirect aiming helps. Learn where your bow shoots. And that's how you hold it. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. So those 500s were shooting to the right. A little bit. So back to the 600s. Yeah, I'm quite sure I have found the window on this bow. It's right in that little V. That's where the target goes. And it's just a straight draw. Get back to the anchor. Relax the hands, the fingers. Just press it on. But that's what's working. Those 500s, again, were off to the right, even though they were stiffer. All these mechanical adjustments, raising knocks and brace heights and stuff, this is all stuff you can do, but it amounts to not very much. Hitting the target is more important. Indirect aiming works. Do it. Don't be afraid to put the arrow down in the dirt and, I don't want to do that, and stuff. Anyhow, you'll get your hits, eh? You'll get your hits. And they're not off on the right. You notice that? We solved the problem. Back in a minute. Okay, guys. It's starting to get pretty dark down here. Probably the camera is still bright. But anyhow, it's getting late. White arrows help. Okay, guys, I think we'll call it a night. About 25% of the leaves are gone. So, we're doing a straight draw, not a rotational draw. Also, we are not aiming the arrow directly at the target. In this case, with this bow, my arrow is actually pointing off to the left a little bit. And that gets me to hit the target. Okay? So that's what I had to tell you. Indirect aiming. Find that little window. That's what you're aiming. And yeah, the camera looks a lot brighter than it does here. But anyhow, there's our hits. Okay? So you do these kinds of things that I'm telling you, you should be able to do this. Well, boys, have a good week. Good shooting. Talk to you later. Bye now.